Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ahead of Sales Success Series. And today we're going to be talking about overcoming your fear of selling. And this is something I'm really passionate about because the fear of selling purely comes from overthinking. And also, it comes from a lack of understanding about what sales is. Um, and we all know the feeling, the that uncomfortable feeling when we feel that we're putting things upon other people that they don't want and they don't need, and it just makes us feel really really uncomfortable. We feel that we're in an imposition, and it's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling. But actually, I'm here to tell you that the fear of selling is all in your head. There is no need to feel scared or sad about selling. In fact, if you read Daniel Pink's book, he says to sell is human. And it is, it's a human trait. When you kids are selling to us all the time. They're selling to get their own way, they're selling to get sweets, but also we're selling quite often to kids to try and get them to bed on time, to try and get them to eat their greens. But we're selling all day long, every day, whether we're trying to persuade our boss of a new idea, whether we're trying to persuade our partner to go to a particular restaurant. Humans are built to sell. Selling is human nature. What makes us worried about selling is that there's money attached to it quite often, and that makes us feel uncomfortable, especially in the UK. Really, really weirdly. But what I'm going to take you through today, it's a bit of a whirlwind. I could probably do God, I could do tons of sessions on this. In fact, if you're watching this in April 2025, actually on the 9th of April and on the 23rd of April, I'm actually doing a session on this about understanding buyer psychology. But first of all, what I'm going to take you through today, like I say, it's a whirlwind, is that by understanding your buyer psychology and by also altering your perception of sales, you can actually overcome your fear. Now, like I say, this is going to be a whirlwind tour. And if you've got any other questions, please do come back to me, and I'll be happy to answer them and give you more detail on that. But let's move on. So, buyer psychology. The first thing you need to understand about buyer psychology is that everybody buys with emotion and then they justify it with logic. And that is true. That's a universal truth. Everyone buys with emotion, and then they justify that purchase with logic. And for this, I want you to think about something that you bought. Um, whether it's a pair of high heels, whether it's a car that was maybe slightly bigger than what you needed, or indeed a car that was maybe smaller than you needed. Maybe you got a fancy sports car when actually you needed a people carrier for your 5 kids. The house that you bought, for example, all of these decisions have been driven by emotion. Um, even even if you buy, for example, you think, for example, you're being really frugal and prudent by buying own brand baked beans instead of Heinz. That's an emotional decision. Whether it's an emotional decision on trying to remember that you want to have more money to buy a holiday later in the year, or whether it's that you're trying to uh, almost get one up on the supermarkets because you've noticed that the own brand beans are in the bottom shelf, whereas the Heinz beans are right at eye level. Whatever it is, it's still an emotional decision, no matter how much you think it's based on logic. So, if there's anything you should remember, is that everyone buys with emotion and justifies with logic. But I want to take this a bit further. What is emotion? Well, if anyone's read the chimp paradox, you'll understand the theory that we're actually guided by a number of different brains, but we're actually governed by two major brains. The first one is our sort of prefrontal cortex, our logical brain, and the other one is our emotional brain, and that's actually our chimp brain. It's our amygdala, it's our feeling center. When we feel love, we're actually being guided by our chimp brain. I've just noticed the rather unfortunate cropping there with grass on this poor chimp's bum, making him look like he's, well, had an unfortunate green accident, let's say. Oh, and I've just noticed that his little winky's hanging out, but I'm going to leave that in the video. Why not? Because that's sort of what what I do. Actually, that's probably a female chimp. Anyway, it's quite late at night here, and I'm rambling. So, buyer psychology and get into the emotion. When you're trying to tap into the emotion, you're actually tapping into a buyer's chimp brain. What that actually means is that you're tapping into their fight or flight response. So what you have to think about and what you have to think about doing is generally that chimp, because it feels uncomfortable when it realizes it's in a sales situation, generally it's jumping up and down trying to get away from that scenario. It's in the flight mode. And what you have to think about is actually trying to calm down that chimp, placate that chimp, give it a good pat or a good scratch or pick off some fleas from it. But you need to calm that chimp down. And the way to do that, and the way to do that quickly, is to remember that your prospect doesn't care about you. They really don't care. You might have the best you might have the best product or service in the world. They literally do not care. What they care about is how you might help them. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this as we move on. Um, but they care about how you might help them. So for you to tap in to their emotion and calm down the chimp brain, you have to tell them very, very quickly how you can help them, not about the features of your product. And this comes into altering your mindset. And the very first point there, and this is going to be the best thing to try and help you feel overcome what's that word? Um, any discomfort. There we go. You feel by being in a sales situation, because usually we feel uncomfortable because we feel that we're trying to push something onto somebody else. Now, I'm pretty confident that none of you try and sell your services or your products to people that might not be interested in them. So, what you have to do with your mindset, which will also help you placate the chimp, is you have to shift your mindset from one that where you're trying to sell to one that you're trying to help. And over time, there'll be more videos on this, but as long as you've defined who your customer is and you understand what challenges it is that you solve for that customer, then you can shift your mindset from one about trying to sell to one about trying to help. Now, with that, and what will help you placate the chimp is to focus on the value that you bring, not the features of your product or service. And that will give you innate confidence in those conversations because you know the value that you bring to clients. And if you don't, I would really suggest that you go away and have a think about what value you are bringing to clients. Sometimes it's quite hard to define, I understand that, but you need to really have confidence in the value that you bring. And the more you talk about the value you bring, the more your mindset will shift from one of being, oh my God, I'm pushing something on someone and it's just horrible, to kind of going, well, no, actually, I'm informing this person about how I could help them. I'm informing this person about the value that I bring to other clients because I believe that this person could potentially have a need for my product or service. But here's the game-changing one. Here's the one that's really going to help you. The biggest reason people feel unconfident, apart from when they feel pushy and stuff like that, but they feel discomfort in a sales situation when they're worried about what they have to say next. And that is what drives a lot of discomfort because they're worried about what they need to say next. And actually, you don't need to say anything. You really, really don't. A good sales conversation actually has the buyer talking more than you. So, a really simple mindset shift would be to shift away from talking and switch to listening. Um, there's a reason that the word silent and listen have the same letters. Well, there probably isn't a reason. It's probably completely coincidental. But silent and listen have the exact same letters. They're anagrams of each other. And you need to switch your mindset from being one of talking and appraising people on all the features and benefits and whatnot of your service to one of actually listening. Now, the reason that works and that will help you feel more confident is actually it gives you time to think. And if you switch up, if you ask some really good questions and listen to what the client is telling you, not only do you have time to think, but you can actually really start to understand what it is, what are the challenges that that client is having, because no client is the same. And you can really understand what aspects of your service can help them. And then with your mindset shift from trying to sell to trying to help, the more you understand about the client, the more you're going to be able to articulate how much you can actually help them. And that really brings confidence. that really, really brings confidence, because the more you understand about that client, the more sure you're going to be that you can help them. Or indeed, you might realize that you can't help them. And then that's a scenario where you need to walk away. And you've, you won't believe the number of times I've watched somebody recognize that somebody doesn't have a need for their service, and they start pitching it anyway. And it's purely nerves. So actually, by switching from talking to listening, you very quickly gain confidence, gain an understanding if you can help that client. And if you can, try to help them, because that's all you're doing. That's all that sales is. You're trying to give somebody a solution to a problem that they, well, that you've identified that they have. So that's a bit of a whirlwind on the theory. Oh, and I should say, by listening to your client, actually, you're really calming down the chimp as well. So you're really helping this chimp feel a bit more calm and a bit more secured in that situation. But here's some actionable steps that you can sort of follow now, to take away and to work on, um, to help you build that confidence. So, first of all, I would suggest knowing your stuff. And like I said before, know what issues you solve, understand how you help your clients, understand what challenges it is that they have that your product solves. And if you find that you can't articulate that, if you can't reflect back on any of your clients and think quite clearly, how have I helped them? I'm not saying you haven't helped them, but what I'm saying is you need to take some time away to actually assess the impact that you've had on your clients, either with your product or with your service. What I'd also suggest to help you build confidence is develop and rehearse some key questions that you'll ask in any sales scenario, so that you switch from listening, and that you're not talking. And with these questions, they should be open questions. So who, what, when, where, and why, and how, because those are the ones that will open up the conversation. The more you do that and the more you develop those questions, the more chance you're going to have for your client to just talk to you, the more calm you'll feel, the more reassured you'll feel, because you'll understand that the client is actually telling you about the need that they have. And also, by the client talking, they're channeling their emotion, they're heightening their emotion, which makes them far more likely and far more willing to listen when you say, don't worry, I can help this issue, let me tell you how. Start small. So don't go straight into having these discussions with clients if you feel uncomfortable with it. I would say practice on family and friends, but I think that would be the most awful and awkward thing at all. So what I suggest is lean on your professional network if you have one. So lean on people who you view as peers in your business networks, and start small. Have sales conversations with them. Every sales team I work in, I do role play with them. And yes, it's a really awkward exercise, but my goodness, is it good for rehearsing things like this. And then last, but by no means least, practice. Practice makes perfect. And for any Americans out there, practice with an S is what the British, how British people spell it when we're talking about the verb to practice. Just in case somebody decides to pick me up on that. So I am correct in British English. But practice makes perfect. The more you have these conversations, the more you have your questions, the more you see how that brings out in your client, exactly what their needs might be, the more confident you're going to feel. So practice, don't shy away from the sales conversations, have them. And recognize that actually quite often you're not going to do the right sales conversation. I've been in sales for 25 years and I still cock up sales conversations all the time. I get excited. I get, oh my God, they're definitely going to buy. And I make some silly assumptions. And then I realize, oh God, I've lost that deal as well. Everyone messes up a sales conversation, but the more you practice, the more likely you are that in the vast majority of scenarios, you'll actually have a good sales conversation. And in that, you'll have a significant amount of confidence over time as well. But last but not least, your service is there to help people. And as long as you remember that, and remember that you're not selling, all you're trying to do is helping. Oh, sorry, all you're trying to do is help, then confidence should come naturally, because who doesn't want to be helped and who doesn't want to help other people? And that's exactly what you're doing. So please don't worry. Please remove all of the negative connotations that you have about sales, because they're your preconceptions. They're not your clients. Your clients probably want you to help them solve that problem. So it's just you holding yourself back. But by using these tips and using these actionable steps, you can really, really kind of build your own confidence in selling, and really start to nail those conversations. You got this. You're great. You started your business for a reason. And I've got no doubt that you'll go out of this implementing maybe one or two of these things, and actually it'll make a massive difference. Like I say, if you've got any further questions, please do put them in the Sales Success Network. You can email me. And like I say, if you are watching this in April 2025, I'm doing a webinar on the 9th of April 2025 and the 23rd of April 2025. It's Wednesdays anyway. And it's on the psychology of buyers. So understanding the psychology of your buyers. So if you want to join that, then please feel free. The details are on Eventbrite, and just contact me if you need me to send them to you. But I will leave it there. Please go out there, happy selling. Feel confident because you're helping, you're not selling. Thanks a lot.